Today's Thursday, the 18th of October 2018, and we've come down to the Mason's Arms in Vaughan in Swansea to do an interview with a gentleman who had a strange sighting some time ago. My name's Steve Drewson, Swansea UFO Network, and I'm accompanied by co-founders Emlyn Williams and Mike Maunder. So we've come to have a chat with a gentleman called Mr. Neil Vaughan. So Neil, if you'd like to come down and tell us a little bit about it. Great. Can you start by telling us the time and date this happened and where you were?
Okay, I was in the Mason's Arms in Vaughan on the 13th of September 1995. I had just returned from visiting my mum in Swansea prior to the death of my uncle, and she'd been quite upset. So I decided on the way home to stop off at the pub and have a couple of drinks. I wouldn't have normally drunk in the Masons when I had the car, because I used to catch the bus over as I was living in Gorsainon. But on this particular evening I thought, well, I'll just have a couple and I'll get back home to my now ex-partner early and be in her good books. So I sat in the lounge bar, which is just situated to my left, until just before 10 o'clock. I had 2 pints and left the building to move to my car, which is parked where it is now on my right hand side at the bottom end of the car park. And my next recollection was arriving home in Park Road in Gorsainon, getting out of the car, all pleasing myself, thinking that my partner would be happy with me because I come home early for once. And on opening the door, she said to me, and where the hell do you think you've been till this time of night? I don't give a monkeys if you're shagging around, but just at least have the courtesy to give me a ring and let me know you'll be home late. I said, it's not late, love. It's just gone 10 past 10. Look, there's my watch. And my watch said just between 10 past and 10:15. She said, no, it's not. There's mine. It's 10 to 1. Now, she'd played games with me before with clocks and times, put them on and back. So I thought she was just mucking me about. So I went in the living room, and sure enough, the clock there said 10 to 1. But to make sure, I put on the TV and put BBC CFAX on, and yeah, sure as I'm standing here, the time was 12:50, or just gone, 12:51, 12:52. I don't remember anything from 10 o'clock until 12:50 when I arrived home. Absolutely no idea. I told my partner, she didn't believe me. I didn't know what to think. You know, where's my 3 hours gone? Then the following day, now that would have been 17th, because we were in the 16th now, the Evening Post put an article, which I believe Vaughan have in their possession. The sighting had been made by 2 witnesses of a UFO hovering over Vaughan Rugby Club, which if you pan your camera, you will see the rugby ground is directly behind the car park and where I am parked. So many years later, after real thinking about it, I firmly believe that I was abducted. And well,
yeah, is this the article?
That's the article. Yeah, that's it. That is.
Yeah, it's like correction on the date. It was actually two days after. The
2 days after, was it?
It was this is Friday the 15th of September in the Evening Post,
right.
South Wales Evening Post.
Right. So
and your missing time occurred on the night of Wednesday, the 13th of
That's
September.
right. That's correct.
Which
yes.
is the night
that the sighting was seen.
I'll just read this out. That the sighting happened on above Swansea Road, where we are now, around 10 p.m. on Wednesday, which fits in exactly with your missing time.
Yeah.
And basically, what they described was a pulsating giant transparent jellyfish, which is the interpretation of
what they thought they
describing what it looked like. Yeah.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it.
You don't remember seeing it?
I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
And your journey home, how long does it normally take?
10 minutes.
And I believe you said you lived in Gorsainon at the time.
That's right, by the TAs.
By the TAs in Gorsainon, yeah. Which is a 10-minute drive, yeah.
Parkwood.
So, okay, so we'll have a word with your current wife, who's got some input, because back in February this year you had some memories coming back, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, so now we're going to have a word with Donna, shall we?
Yes, why not?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
When you got home, and I understand that your partner who you were with then, you're no longer with her.
No,
in fact, this is your present wife, Donna. Hello,
That's
Donna.
right.
Okay. We'll come to you in a minute. But so you left the pub and you got home, and what did your partner say?
Where have you been till this time of night?
What time was it?
10 to 1.
And you left the pub at 10 o'clock.
Left the pub at 10
And
o'clock.
can you remember driving back?
No.
It was a while ago now, isn't it? But
No,
at the time,
at the time I didn't remember
did you think?
any of the journey. No,
You looked at your watch and you said it was 10 minutes past 10.
Yeah.
But it was actually 10 to 1.
No, my watch said 10 past 10.
10 past 10, yeah.
My watch must have stopped.
But the actual time was 10 to 1,
1.
and so was it.
So what was your first recollection when you got home, getting out the car, coming through the
Just
front
go
door?
to the front door. Just go into the front door.
Right. And your car then you found was where you normally park it, was it?
Exactly outside the house, exactly where I park it, always had
So
to.
did she believe it? Did she wonder where you'd been at that time? What did she say?
Well, she wondered what I've been up to, and I said I've been up to anything. And she said, don't lie, just let me know if you're going to be late. Which was surprising in itself, because her normal attitude was, as long as you're home in the morning, I don't care what you're doing. But so why she decided to go off on one on this particular night, I don't know. But she said it's not.
What time did you normally get home then from the pub?
Well, it was 10:30 stop time, I think, in those days, wasn't it? 11 o'clock, so I was never late.
Right, but I think you did tell me initially that you did leave at 10 o'clock, which is a little bit
Early. Well, you see,
normally.
normally, when I was living in Vaughan, I would have gone on the bus over at 10 to 9. I never used to go out before 9 o'clock. And I'd catch the last bus home, and the last bus was 25 to 11 or 20 to 11, I believe, at the time. So that was my routine. So this was a completely out of routine anyway, and the only reason I was doing it was because I'd been over to see my mum, because my uncle had died the day before, and she took it really badly.
Yeah.
So I went over to see if she was okay, and I just thought, oh, I'll pop in the Masons and have a quick one on the...
Yeah. How much did you drink? I know you were driving, so you wouldn't...
£2, just had £2.
Right. So, 2 days later, there was something in the Evening Post.
Yeah.
That a couple walking their dog, and their neighbour, and another friend, saw a huge UFO over the rugby field, which is right next to the pub.
That's right.
And they'd reported that they'd seen it at about 10 p.m. On that night.
That's right.
So, what did you think when you saw that in the Post?
Well, I thought that's where it'd been.
You connected
well,
it to
well,
missing
2
time.
hours missing time.
So you connected that to, must have been something to do with the UFO.
Yeah.
What did your partner say about that?
Just thought it was loopy.
So that was back in 1995, and what happened after that? Did you tell anybody else?
I'll be honest, I say she thought it was loopy. I don't really remember. She knew there was a lot of weird things happened around me. It was paranormal. She's experienced it as my wife has been with me prior. And so she knew there was something different. Things happened to me that you couldn't explain. But, you know, it's back in those days, there wasn't the big interest there is now in the UFO phenomena. It was, you know, it was something people didn't really talk about. And, you know.
Yeah, because it was just before the internet era, wasn't it? So
yeah.
You had the odd
so there was
sighting reported in the paper, but there was no sort of...
But there was no
discourse.
That's right, and unless you went and bought books, or you weren't going to see anything much about it. There was the odd film, but you know, didn't really watch them.
So at that time, you thought, I got all this missing time, and there was a UFO sighting at the same time, in the same place.
Then I put 2 and 2 together.
Did you do anything about that after that? Did you report it, or no?
I told other people, and they just thought I was potty.
Yeah.
Although
And I do know that people in the club here where you come to now, because I know a friend of mine knows you, and he said Well, you should go and see this guy in the club. He maintains that he's been on board the craft and...
Well, yes. I had a recollection. I came back that I'd been on there.
So you've got no fear about people taking the mickey because you sticking by your guns?
Oh, I know what I am. I know what I've seen. Well, other people now who you will probably interview in the future have come forward now that I've opened up and admitted about their experiences.
Yeah, you're a brave man. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Well,
so update this now. Over the years, has anything else happened to do with that? Has any memories come back apart from what you told me what happened this year?
Not now. I've got funny feelings like it could have happened when I was a child. You know, I've thought back, and I didn't like sleeping in my back bedroom in West Cross when we lived there. And I had paranormal experiences there, but there's something in the back of my mind about a really bright light being outside the window. But I was really, really young at the time.
And where was that?
That was in West Cross.
Oh, West Cross.
Yeah.
Just in Swansea Bay.
Yeah.
So, tell me about, you said you had a dream back in February this year.
Yeah. I dreamt it. It was.
And you were a bit on it then?
I was half awake, but it was like something it's like somebody pulling a screen up or a curtain open, and I assumed I was on a ship. It was blinding white light, and all I can say is interfaced on a panel with another human being next to me. I was up against some sort of control panel, but it didn't move. I was stuck there.
Stuck in what way?
Well, I felt that I was controlling or having an effect on what was happening, but it was just all I can say is being interfaced with me as being
so
one.
You're actually touching it, right?
Actually touching contact with it.
And there was somebody else next to you?
There was somebody else next to me, and I had image of the little greys standing behind me.
Mm-hmm.
But there were others on the ship, and I was terrified. They were big, but I can't remember. I just sort of blanked it out. They were terrifying.
Well, the big ones.
The big ones were. The little greys were like benign. Really, they were.
Mm.
But I didn't move around the ship or anything, and I had a recollection of them doing something with my eyes, and them telling me that that's how they programmed us. Basically, it was the quickest way into their brain was directly in through the eyes.
Do you feel you were fully clothed?
I don't have any recollection about being clothed naked or having any medical practice, performed to me. But it's the big thing was that I was part of this, and I felt I'd been on the ship, but the 30 years comes into my mind. But thinking, was it that I had this experience within 30 years prior in West Cross? Or was I on the ship for 30 years? But that number just was in my head, 30 years. I felt I hadn't been there, I hadn't been on the ship for 3 hours, I'd been there for 30 years. And they brought me back through time.
Right.
And this is why people have missing time, because they can't quite get it back, they can't quite get it right to the minute.
Or to the location.
They can get you close, but they're not that, they're good, but they're not that good. You know, they can get you within hours.
So,
well, it's just my theory thing is that the longer you've been away, the harder it is to get you back. The longer the gap is in your.
So you think in this just short of 3 hours that you were away, in your time frame, it was actually about 30 years.
Yeah.
But you hadn't aged in that
No.
at that time or anything like that.
No. But my body. I'm riddled with arthritis, and I'm a man in my started in my early 50s, late 40s. So it's as though my body has done the life, but I don't have the physical. I don't show the age.
And it's just just those two little memories that you have of standing at this console behind
that is plain standing there, brightest white light you can imagine.
And you sensed fear from the tall.
But it's terrible fear.
And they were putting something into your eye.
They were doing something into my eye.
What?
I don't know, they were doing something with my eyes and it was frightening.
Was it both eyes or just one?
Just the one that I can... You know.
You said this was like
it's an impression, not an actual vision. Okay, it's not. Right. I'm not sort of rewinding it to you like a video. It's just things that have come to me.
Just a flash.
Like a flash.
Yeah.
And anything else since now?
Not that I can remember.
So you were in bed when you had this recollection?
Yes.
Or dream?
Yes.
You said it was like a half awake dream?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was half awake. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
So you were lying next to him in the bed at the time, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Did he wake you up?
He didn't wake me up straight away, no, he waited for me to wake up. But I know he was anxious to tell me, because it was the first thing that came out of his mouth. I mean, he was a bit worried as well. He might have, I think he thought that I was going to think that there was something wrong with him. But he came out and explained it, and wow, I couldn't believe it myself. I was like, wow. And to be interfaced into something is, and not to move at all. Obviously the brain was doing all the work. That was incredible.
And I was in a really tight white fitting suit, completely clad.
Oh, there we are. So you did have clothes.
Not when the examination was being done, but I remember a really skin, you know, absolutely skin tight, like spandex, and it was white.
So you were examined as well?
Well, I had the eyes,
the eye thing.
but I couldn't tell you if they examined me. You know, I don't remember. That's
so
what
did you think? Were you party to his previous story about the missing time? Did you know about that?
Well, when we first met, he didn't say anything at all. But after we were married, I think he thought he knew me enough now to tell me the story. When he told me, I was a bit of a skeptic, and I thought, well, maybe, whatever. And then when he came out with this dream, I was like, well, gosh, it's got to be. Absolutely got to be. And of course his ex-partner also had an interaction in a way with the story. So it wasn't just the one person, there was two people involved. So I'm totally turned around, me. Yeah. So
you think it's more than a dream? Because obviously we all dream. Did you think it was just a dream, or do you think it was memories coming back?
No, I definitely believe I was abducted.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that was what I dreamt was the actual, what did actually happen, but I firmly believe that I was abducted that night.
How long have you been married?
Nearly 10 years now.
10 years?
Coming up.
So 2008, 2009.
2009.
So he told you this story years ago, and this year he's had this really vivid recollection, and
Yes.
you were disbelieving before that, were you?
I didn't believe in UFOs, I didn't believe in all this paranormal stuff until I met Neil. And so many things have come out, you know, I mean, it's just amazing.
She's had first-hand experiences.
Right.
Not with the UFOs, but with the paranormal.
Can you remember any more about the room you were in, or describe it at all?
All I could say is it was clinically clean. There's an impression of
the size of it, or?
No, because my vision was just, I was just stuck on this machine.
But you did say to me that you felt you were on the mothership.
Yeah, I did feel I was on the mothership, not a small. It was a big ship.
So when you had your eyes examined, were you still interfaced with this machine? No. How did that happen then?
Well, that was before.
That was I was lying on my back. Would have been lying on my back, because I'm looking at.
That's just a memory you've got.
That's just a memory I've got.
And that came before the instance where you were.
No, that was the first thing that came.
Yeah,
the being on the that was the first thing.
Well, the first thing that came back was the stand.
Was the stand in there.
So do you think the examination with your eyes was before or after that?
Before.
So you've had it come back in the wrong order then?
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. But then recollections don't always come to.
Yeah, and you told me that you're willing to undergo some sort of hypnotic regression.
Yeah, more than willing. Yeah.
So we got that in hand. So
okay, that's fine.
We sort that out.
I think he's quite looking forward
to
it to actually find out what the truth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's not too traumatic.
Oh yes, so do I.
If it is, it is. I know there's something different about me. I always have been different. when I was a kid, the dead master of my comprehensive told my parents if 2,000 children in this school all agreed to do something and Neil didn't want to do it, there was nothing that was going to change my mind. I like being in company, but I'm really a loner.
And you've got a technical background, haven't you? Because
I was mechanical engineering and aircraft engineering
in Swansea Airport, then.
Swansea, Cardiff and St Athens.
Right. So you know aircraft when you see them, you know a bit about aircraft.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued about this. You said there was it was a man standing next to you, like yourself, with his hands
another
up.
human.
Another human being.
Yeah.
What's your impressions of him? Do you think he was like yourself, or do you think
he was another abductee? Probably.
Another abductee. Can you remember anything about his features? Or
nothing at all.
No
he was
interaction.
just clad in the same as me, all in this white, and it's right round your face. Just.
Yeah. So why do you think you were there?
I have no idea.
Were they? Do you think they were? Well, you tell me.
I really have no idea why the heck they would pick me.
What you were doing? You
said
you had a feeling that you were controlling the craft, you said?
I had a feeling I was, yeah. Or I was certainly having something to do with the function of the craft.
I'll take you back to the very beginning now. How much do you remember of leaving the public house?
Nothing, I remember.
Do you remember coming out the door?
Yeah, I remember going to the door, and that's it.
Do you remember being about?
Yes.
And coming out of it then?
I remember going to the door.
To the door?
I was sitting by myself. I always used to drink in the lounge, and there never really used to be a bar drinker. So you could have 100 people in the bar. I'd sit in the corner, in the Masons, right by as you come into the lounge, behind the door in the corner. We all used to fight for that corner.
So when you came out, it would have been dark, yes?
Oh yes, yeah.
What was the weather like?
Best of my knowledge, it was clear, perfectly clear night, yeah. It wasn't raining.
So the last thing you remember is going to the door?
Last thing I remember was getting up, going to the door, yeah.
And the next memory is?
Arriving at home.
In the car? You can't remember getting to the car and getting in and driving back? Do you think that, no recollection of that, do you think that could be because it's so long ago? Or do you think, can you remember at that time thinking, oh, I don't remember getting in the car?
No. It doesn't, I just didn't think about it. No, I didn't, there's no recollection of getting into the car, driving home. I just remember, first thing I remember is going to opening the door and having a go.
Yeah, I think you told me that she showed you the clock.
Yeah.
And your watch had stopped?
Yeah.
Have you still got the watch?
No.
Oh, it's a shame. Did it ever work again?
Yeah.
So it did. What kind of watch was it?
But no,
was it like the one you got with hands on it, or was it digital?
Yeah, it was a hands-on. A Timex, I think it was.
Was it wind-up one, or was it with the battery?
Yeah, I think it was the one the kids bought me.
So it was a wind-up clockwork watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We got anything else you can? Any more input, Donna?
Not really, not on that particular issue, no, definitely not. I'm sure if he comes across anything in his dreams, he will tell me.
Yeah, tell me as well.
Absolutely.
Sure.
No, that was what I remembered, was him telling me about this particular dream that he'd had, and that how frightened he was. And he told me the same as he's just said, that there was somebody next to him, about the little greys being behind and being afraid of the larger ones. I know just as much as Neil, and that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for meeting us today.
It's
No
a pleasure.
problem, thank you.
Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you.
That was their attitude towards it. I told them, I didn't actually tell them, I told the manager, and he just said, oh, shut up and have a drink, basically.
What was your role there?
Well, at that time I was the engineer. I fixed the aircraft. I had a license to operate the tower. I was a junior fire officer, so basically I was just about everything. I was the airfield manager.
But it wasn't generally open at that time, was it? It's still closed then, wasn't it?
Not for commercial aviation, but it was open for you know,
What time of day was it?
this evening, it's about 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, it was after hours. They kept the bar open.
What were you actually doing there at that time then?
Because they'd two commercial pilots, that husband and wife, they were both captains on Airbuses, and they'd bought each other a flight on the Vampire.
Right.
We had 2 Vampires, and one of the guys was Clive Rustin, who flew it, who was the chief pilot, and then there was another guy called Marcus Edwards, who was an ex-Navy Sea Vixen pilot, and he was the other pilot, so they were there. And all the Diablo entourage who maintained the aircraft, all the ground support, they were there. And but it was all because of this couple. So because there was a crowd there, they kept the bar open.
Well, when we find the press cutting, because you said it was in the paper, when we find that, we'll come back to them on that.
There we go.
But you actually saw the helicopter coming in?
Yeah, landed.
Actually spoke to the Loadmaster.
But you didn't see the UFO that has been chasing, though?
Yeah.
You saw that as well? Oh,
Well, I just saw them chasing A lights back and forth a bit.
From Fairwood, yeah. I
Yeah.
know what you mean. I can picture that, yeah.
Was chasing a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was moving back in the bloody helicopters. There were 3 of them out there at one time. 3 Sea Kings were chasing.
After reading the Springs article
Light.
again, I think it could be the same one.
Perhaps the guy's identification of the helicopters weren't too good.
Sea King's a big
Yeah, it could be my
helicopter, right?
recollection of the case. I'm assuming it could have been.
Because that sounds about right, October, and that would have been about the time, like 98.
Right, I'll look at that.
Yeah, so it's certainly round about that time.
It was dark then, was it?
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you go to MOD or speak to anyone from MOD, they will just say no,
Yeah, they just deny it.
deny it, without even thinking
Oh,
about
they
it.
do. They did. When I
Yeah.
spoke to the, I think they came from Chivner, and when they denied there were any Sea Kings operating in the area,
Yeah.
anyway of any squadron.
They probably didn't have the transponders on either.
No. Again at the airport, we were coming home, taking one of the boys, Jim Kerr, who used to live on the airfield. He owned one of the Vampire jets, and we'd been down the New Lodge Club, as it happens, and we were bringing him back. And as we were coming across from Calais, we could see this shaft of light coming from the sky, right down over where we obviously was the airport. So as we were driving along, and there's this massive beam of light coming out from the clouds, and I said, "This is a bloody UFO." And, "Oh, it's a stupid, Neil, it's bloody stupid. It's got to be the old wartime height-finding cloud radar that we sort of a thing." It didn't work. You shine a searchlight up onto the cloud, and we got a theodolite in the tower, and we know the distance from the base, and you shine obviously the sight to where it is in the cloud, and you can work up the height of the cloud with tray.
Yeah.
So we went into we drove past it. You could see this beam. It was like from here to, should we say, here to CK's from us. And Jim said, "I don't really think that's where it is actually located. It's closer to that." But anyway, I'll go up the tower and switch it off. So we went to the tower, and went on, played with it, nothing. So we said, "Well, we're not going to go down there tonight," because, well, not because we were afraid or anything, but because it was bloody too dark, and it was. So anyway, we left and we went, and we came back the following morning, and we went there, there wasn't even a bulb in it. So if it wasn't going up, it had to be coming down, didn't it? But there was no bulb in this thing.
When was that?
Hmm?
Round about the same time.
As the helicopters...
Bit maybe a year or so after. Oh, there were things all the time on that airfield. The two owners at the time, they used to stay there. One was Martin Jones. He was the chief design engineer for British Rail. He designed the advanced passenger train that never went in, you know, the bending one, and was the designer of what you call, you know, the commuter trains that you have now. He was the designer of that. And Martin Bonzo, he was a big mining engineer in Yorkshire, but they were both aircraft engineers after they changed their business as well. We're talking reliable guys now, not prone to fantasy. So they were staying there one night, and they started hearing transmissions coming over the PA. Well, look, we turn all the radios off and we shut the tower down. This first thing, all the radios off and plugged it. And they were listening, and they could hear, and it was wartime codes. So they weren't using the phonetic alphabet that we use. It was like G for George, and not the standard phonetic. And they could hear an engine, or 4 engines. They went up the tower, and they could hear what they said was what they thought was a 4-engine bomber out on the tarmac, but they couldn't see because the fog was down to the ground. And these transmissions were coming out.
That's
with no
strange.
radios.
There wasn't any bomber station there, was there?
Yeah, it was a night fighter
I
station.
thought it was Hurricanes.
It was they had bullfighters there. We had a Halifax crash there.
Oh, the fighter bombers.
Yeah.
Right. Not like the big
We had mosquitoes. No, but they did have aircraft. Like Halifaxes operated out to there. They had one crash.
Oh, right.
It crashed.
The Halifax isn't as big as a Lancaster, is
yeah,
it?
yeah, same size. Exactly the same 4-engine. And one crashed into the WAF's quarters, which is over where the golf club is now. But
we've heard about
these two were there standing, and they said they could hear it. You know, they're not. They said it's bonkers.